Hi everyone, today we're going to be looking at the September 11 attacks that took place in 2001 and whether Israel had anything to do with those attacks. Did America's greatest ally help to plan and carry out the attacks? Or did they have foreknowledge of the attacks and fail to warn one of its closest allies? Before we get started, remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also leave a comment. Tell us what you think. What's your opinion on this topic? Do you have any information that we didn't cover in this video? Are there any other topics that you would like us to do a deep dive into? First up, we're going to be looking at some of the early warnings that the US received. Just weeks before the attack, Israel gave the US intelligence community vague reports that they believed that there would be a mass terrorist attack coming to the US very soon. Multiple foreign agencies gave similar warnings. Now this begs the question, if multiple warnings were given, why weren't these warnings taken seriously? What was done by the US intelligence community? And how complete were those warnings that Israel gave? On September 9, 2011, New York police pulled over a van that they had numerous reports about. The van was said to be acting suspiciously. The van and its occupants were in clear view of the Twin Towers explosion. The occupants were said to be filming the explosion, giving each other high fives, and even dancing, like the set of Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo. When asked, the occupants said they had a moving job, but the moving job was on the other side of the country to where they were found. They also had no moving equipment in the van, no trolleys, no ropes, and no blankets. Police thought this was a little bit strange. They also found thousands of dollars of cash stuffed into a sock, knives, maps of the city, and police dogs even found explosive residue in the van. This was later confirmed in a lab. Presumably, the explosive residue was left over from their wicked breakdance moves. It's also worth mentioning that FBI detained the dancing Israelis, as they are now known, for 71 days. They weren't just brought in, questioned, and let free. They were kept for 71 days before being quietly deported. The owner of Urban Moving Systems, the company that they worked for, packed up and left as soon as they were arrested. He was on the first flight back to Israel. The FBI also noted that all the men had military intelligence backgrounds. And once they were home, they went live on Israel TV and admitted in an interview that, quote, "We were there to document the event." So, all of this information leads us to wonder, why were intelligence-linked Israelis filming before the second plane had even hit the tower? The next thing we're going to be looking at is another Israeli military moving company, allegedly thought to be a fake moving company by the FBI. This moving company was called Classic International Movers. This one is one of the most interesting pieces of evidence in the whole case. The FBI had good reason to believe that this company, Classic International Movers, was used for a moving job by one of the 19 hijackers aboard the plane that crashed into the Twin Towers. That single piece of evidence is extremely suspicious. The contact info for the Classic International Movers was found in a notebook seized from the dancing Israelis. So the dancing Israelis were linked to Classic International Movers, and the Classic International Movers were linked to the hijackers. 4 Israeli employees of this company were detained. One was extremely visibly disturbed when questioned about his links to the hijackers. All of them were deported inexplicably, and no further legal action was taken. Why were companies with alleged intelligence ties so close to the hijackers' network? Next, we'll be looking at the Israeli so-called art student spy ring. Both the DEA and FBI had multiple alerts during 2000 and 2001 in the 12 months leading up to the September 11 attacks. Over 120 Israelis posing as art students visited federal offices. A DEA memo sent out said they believed that it was a possible organized intelligence operation. Some of these art students even lived right near the 9/11 hijackers. Most of them were also deported quietly. Why were known Israeli intelligence operatives embedded across the US federal infrastructure before 9/11? Another interesting thing I found when looking through close to 1,000 FBI files is that they are all heavily redacted. FBI files on Israeli detainees are extremely heavily redacted. A Fox News 4-part report by Carl Cameron was removed from his website. In 2002, a show called The Forward, the dancing Israelis were admitted to be Mossad agents by the Israelis, but they denied advanced knowledge of the attacks. So, evidence does exist, but key findings remain buried behind classification and diplomatic silence. Now, hypothetically, let's assume just because one of these fake Israeli intelligence moving companies did a moving job for one of the hijackers, if you do think that's suspicious, let's pretend for a moment that Israel either did know about the attacks or they were in on planning and carrying out the attacks. Now, let's look at the motives and the benefits that Israel could possibly have. Number one, a massive increase in US aid and intelligence cooperation with Israel. A US-led war that Israel didn't have to fight alone against its regional enemies, such as Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Afghanistan. Really, the whole Middle East, if we're honest. Now, US policy alignment would also help Israeli security priorities. Also, no Israelis were ever charged, despite multiple extremely suspicious leads. I don't think it takes an FBI investigator or really anyone with any sort of training to think that the Israeli involvement in this case, whatever it may be, at least is extremely, extremely suspicious. And I don't think in a jury of the average person that Israel would get away with some of the things that they were involved in. If any nation knew, but failed to warn USA, or allowed it to proceed, or even worse, planned and participated in the attacks, the consequences of that are mind-blowing. It really turns up everyone's worldview upside down. Now, if you enjoyed any of the information in that brief documentary, I'd like you to donate, if you can, any small amount to my Patreon. The link's in the link below. Also, definitely like and subscribe to this channel for more. Leave a comment, tell us what you think. Tell us if you have any extra info you want us to look into. And tell us if there's a topic you'd be interested in seeing a documentary about. I'm primarily interested in history and really things that are not common knowledge. So anything along those lines, if you're interested in that too, please donate. It helps me buy books. It helps me spend the time to make good quality documentaries. Thanks for your time.